Hi, I'm Rhianna. I help mums with their perfectionism, adapt to the changes that motherhood brings, and set up goals and systems that help them have a calmer, more organised life. So today I thought I'd talk about my own journey with perfectionism and identity change, as it's really led me to where I am now and wanting to help other women in similar situations. I feel that as a child and a teenager, I had really strong senses of identities in different areas. I was a dancer for a while, I was a cheerleader, I did acting at school, and I was very full on in all those areas and really strongly stuck with those identities. They were a really big part of who I am, and I found that quite comforting throughout primary school, senior school, right up until I had to decide what I was doing for uni. And originally I wanted to do exercise, nutrition, health and support people with eating disorders. And I still would have loved to have done that, but very quickly found out at the open day that I was far too squeamish and nearly passed out and had to be led out and given some water. So clearly that was not the path for myself. So instead I decided to literally sit down and go through the prospectus of all the options and courses that you can do at university. And I happened to fall upon the page that was for event management. And it wasn't really something I'd ever considered before, but some of my traits are being very highly organised, and I create systems for everything, which is something you will learn about me. I absolutely adore systems. Before I even knew what I was doing, I was creating them in my teen years. So I thought, you know what, perhaps this is for me. And after doing a bit more research, I decided to go ahead and apply for events management, which is what I did end up doing my degree in. After meeting my now husband at university, he got a job before I did, so I decided to move over to Shropshire. And event jobs are a little more scarce in Shropshire, so I decided to use the marketing skills that I'd learned during my degree to work in some marketing roles until I did eventually find an event role that was great for me. And I got to organise events around Europe, which was pretty exciting. During these years, starting off as a marketing assistant and working my way up a little bit, I created another strong identity in the office as being someone that helped everyone, and I was quite techie, so I was able to support people when things go wrong, and I think I was sort of known as the person that would drop everything to help everyone else, which in some ways is a good thing, some ways is a bad thing, but it's just part of who I am. I'm actually type 2 Enneagram, the helper, so it's so ingrained in me, I just can't help it. Then 6 or 7 years, years after starting my career, I decided to have a family with my husband, and we were very lucky to welcome in our first son in 2019. And this was a little bit challenging for me because I've always wanted to be a mum, and it is one of the best parts of my life. But having such strong identities in other areas of my life, I wasn't expecting how much that would affect me, going from doing quite a lot of exercise, meeting up with friends to do CrossFit a couple of times a week, having my work identity and then travelling around to do that. It was so different to then being sort of trapped in a house at home after a traumatic birth and not being able to get out. It really did hit me. And not too long after that, we went into lockdown here in the UK, and that hugely affected my mental health and my identity. So while this was all going on and I was trying to figure out, while I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mum, and we were very lucky enough that we would be able to do that financially, was my work identity something that I was ready to give up? Because again, being a mum is amazing, but it is so different. So while this was all going on, I had in my head about working from home. I always kind of wanted to be a stay-at-home mum, and it was something I dreamed of, and we were lucky enough that financially it was a situation that we would be able to work with, but I just wasn't sure if I was ready to give up that part of my work identity and sort of give everything to motherhood as it is. So I'm not particularly a woo-woo kind of person, but I do have a lot of interest in manifestation and the moon cycles and stuff, but sort of something I'm still looking into at the moment. But I do honestly believe that I may have manifested my redundancy, because I was constantly fretting about what I was going to do and how I was going to move forward. And then all of a sudden our office was closed down in the UK and we were all made redundant. So it kind of answered that question for me, and I went straight ahead into stay-at-home motherhood. So I continued at home doing that and looking after my little one. And then when he turned 2, I was just longing so much for more. I just needed something, some adult conversation, something to keep my brain going. And again, he was absolutely amazing, but a 2-year-old isn't the best conversation when he's the only person you're with all day. So I decided to look into VA work, being a virtual assistant, which is someone that does a variety of things, but I did marketing and event management for people that are coaches online. So I got to work from home, work around nap time, and that really suited me. I got to have meetings with people, have great conversations, support their businesses, and that was absolutely incredible for me. Not only did it mean that I could put some of my skills that I had from uni and from my job into practice and support people in their businesses, but it meant that I got to talk to more people, talk to more mums, and I started to realise how big the identity crisis problem in motherhood is and how quickly that changes and how lonely it can actually feel. At this point, I actually remember telling one of my friends that I love being a VA, but I would never be someone that was the face of my own company, ironically. So that is something that I started working through after I had the idea to do motherhood identity coaching and to support perfectionist mothers and the identity change that it brings. So that has been a long journey for me to get to the point where I can even sit down in front of a camera. And I know I still have a long way to go, but it's why I'm such a big fan of supporting other mums with identity change and with their perfectionism, because it's something that I have been through and something that I'm still going through to this day. And I imagine I'll be going through at different stages for the rest of my life. Perhaps ironically, as a perfectionism coach, I have been working on this business in the background for 3 years now and not really made many steps in it with my perfectionism, which is so silly. But over the last few months, both of my children are now in a little bit of childcare, one in school, one at nursery. So I've actually taken so many steps over the last few months to move forward in the business, which is incredibly exciting and incredibly terrifying at the same time. So in a nutshell, that's how I've got here, my experience with everything I'm talking about, my perfectionism, the huge changes that motherhood brings and the shock that can be to people that just aren't expecting it, and then also trying to figure out how you balance being a mum with other aspects of your identity going forward without feeling guilty and that you need to do everything. So that's where I am now, and I'm so excited to be making more videos on this channel, and you can go follow me over on Instagram if you want more regular updates as well. Thanks for watching.